Hi class. In this video we're going to start our Excel Module 6 and we're looking at data tables. And a data table is anytime we have a series of rows and columns of repeating data that we want to keep track of, and we can use that data to sort things and query or look at information and see what we have going on in different formats and different ways. So table is very, very helpful. Now, as we get started with this project, there is a starting file, the Coffee Craft Daily Services Data file. So I'm going to look at the textbook here and see a little bit about what we have going on. The Coffee Craft Company repairs industrial coffee makers for restaurants, hotels, coffee shops, and QSRs, which stands for quick service restaurants. I guess that would be fast food, huh? And they've asked for a workbook that lists their daily service calls. They'd like to have key information summarized about the individual technicians and their performance. They'd like for the data to be easy to summarize, sort, edit, and query. So we can see we've got some content dependent or conditional formatting going on here. We have a series of rows and columns that are repeating data with different pieces of information. So that's how we're going to set our table up. We have some other information, it's summary type information, and we'll look at how we're going to create all of that kind of stuff. Great. Now we have our requirements document. I hope you can see this down in the little screen in the corner. Now moving it all around, sorry about that. You've got the textbook. I figured you could scroll through and look at it with me. Now, as well as our needs requirement, we have some column information, what the column headings are, what type of data we have and description. And then we have our sketch diagram of what the spreadsheet's going to look like, worksheet, and different rating tables and things like that. So our roadmap here is to the tasks that we're going to have to do: create and format a table, use lookup tables in our worksheet, insert calculated fields using structured references, apply conditional formatting and icon set, sort tables, query a table, extract records with criteria ranges. We're going to use some database functions and conditional functions, and display automatic subtotals, outlines, and tree map charts. So lots of great stuff here. Now we want to open our data file, Coffee Craft Daily Services Data. They say we're going to open this file and save it with a new name. So let's go ahead and get that file downloaded. I've got Canvas here, and here's our Coffee Craft Daily Service Data Excel file. I'm going to download that. And I have my web browser set to prompt me for save locations, but you may not. So I'm just going to save it in my downloads folder, which is usually people's default. Click save. And then I want to open that file. So I'm just going to click on it to open it in Excel. Now, once I've got the Excel window open, they would like me to maximize it. And I'm going to enable editing. And of course, I still haven't run that update, so I'll close the message. Now, here's the data that we're going to be using. We don't have to type it all. That's great. Let's apply a theme. We'd like to find the vapor trail theme. So let's go to our page layout tab and look at our themes. See if we can find vapor trail. Towards the end. And that formatted our table using that theme. Now let's save the workbook to another storage location. So I want to choose File, Save As. And I'm going to navigate to the location I would like to save. You've got a location where you're saving your files. I'm saving mine in my CIS201 folder and folder. Now, as we look at the data file, notice that it already contains column title, column headings, an overall title, and data. So we're in pretty good shape here with the file that was supplied to us. Now, when we use a piece of data like this to create a data table, we're telling Excel that we want to allow this data to be manipulated in certain ways. We have some rules we need to follow, some guidelines. We don't want more than one table per worksheet. So if we needed another table here in this workbook, we would add another worksheet to hold that table. We want to keep at least one blank row between a table and other worksheet entries, and a table can have a maximum of 16,384 fields and 1,048,576 records on a worksheet. So we can make sure that we're going to fit within that limit, and if we're not, we would need to use access, and that would give us the ability to go beyond that limit. Okay, let's do this. Did you format your table? Some videos for you. You can watch those if you'd rather than watching this one, or in addition to, however you would like to do that. Let's follow our steps. So we're going to format a range as a table, and we know what range we want. We want all of this data that we're looking at. I'm already zoomed to 120%. I might zoom a little bit more just for you guys in the video so you can see better. And now I want to select my range that identifies my table. I'm going to start with my first column heading, my customer ID, and I'm going to end my selection with my last piece of data. So I want to select A8 through F22. Once I've got that set, on my home ribbon, I'm going to format this as a table. Now when I choose to format this as a table, I get the format as table gallery. Let's choose table style medium 16. So it's looking like this: red, table style medium 16. What? Now it's going to ask us to validate where the data is. We've got that properly set. And yes, the checkbox is checked that our table has headers. So we're ready to click OK. And now we've basically turned this into a data table. Let's click anywhere outside of the table to deselect it so we can see how that formatting works. Now our entire range becomes the data table, and we have this filter button available to each column. You notice we could really easily only look at repair items by unchecking all of the others. So we can filter our data based on any of our columns. Super handy. Now we want to wrap our text in cell F8 to make our heading easier to read. So let's take a look at a couple of other things there. Let's change the width of column F to 11. Now as I do that, notice how it looks better. It looks like all of these. Now this format here is showing our table in banded rows, that just means that we alternate the color for every other row so that we can identify the differences between rows easier than if they were all the same color. Now let's name our table. Let's click anywhere in the table and then display the Table Tools Design tab. Now as I'm clicking up here, I see that menu item has shown up. Notice if I'm not clicked on the table, it's not there. But if I click on the table, now I have table design. So I want to use that menu. And I want to find the table name text box. Here it is right here. And right now our table is named Table 1. Let's rename that Service _ calls. Now, why should you use an underscore? We're not allowed to use spaces in our table names, and Excel requires that table names begin with letters or underscore. So we've decided that an underscore makes it easier to read. We could just put names together. Now we want to make sure that our table doesn't have duplicate entries, and we can do that. In our example, the service call for customer 68679 was entered twice by mistake. I want you to think about if you have a table with 10,000 rows, you're not really going to notice that like you would in this small table. So let's see how we can do it automatically. Again, click anywhere in the table, and in your Table Design Tools tab, find the Tools group. Here's all your tools. And let's click Remove Duplicate. Now we want to remove duplicates only if every single column is the same. So let's click OK with all of the columns checked. And it says one duplicate value was found and removed. Okay, so that was what we were expecting. We're in good shape. Now let's add a new record into our table. Let's do that by selecting cell A22. And let's type in some new values here. This is going to be customer ID 42724. I'm going to press tab. It is going to be Franklin, typo, comma, Nathan. That was our tech. We did the coffee shop as their type of business. We did a repair, and it took 2 hours, and we got a 9.5 on the satisfaction rating. So looks great. Now notice we had to type the technician's full name, but as Excel becomes familiar with our data, that would automatically pop up and we'd be able to. We wouldn't have to keep typing the entire name over and over. Now, what if we decide that we need to add a new column? We want to add a new column heading in a column beside one of our current column headings in the table. So let's see what we can do. Let's go to column G. And first we want to change its width to 16. I can get it. And then once we've got our width set, let's click in cell G8 and let's type post service rating and then click enter. Let's go ahead and wrap those two. I'm going to wrap F. Looks better. Now let's change the column width of H to 16.5. And with that set properly, let's add our heading. And we want it to be percent of technicians work day. And press enter. Let's wrap that text. Now let's do one more. For column I, let's make this column 11 O. And we want our heading to be customer bill. Again, I'm going to wrap that. Now we have our new column set up. That didn't take much. We're ready to enter some data in those. But before we do that, let's center our title across our whole table. So I want it to be from A7 all the way to I7. I'm going to select all of those and merge and center. They didn't want me to do it that way. I'm going to click Control Z, show you the hard way. So I'm going to right click and choose Format Cells. And in Format Cells, I'm going to use the Alignment tab. And I want to choose Center Across Selection, Horizontal Alignment. And I'm going to click OK. Now notice how that was different, that I didn't merge those cells. They're all still individual cells, but I centered across that entire selection. Now let's go ahead and select A7, and we want to choose the title style. So it affects our heading. We're not in there because we were centered across that column. Now let's save. We have our table created. Now this is section 6-3, and we're going to use a lookup function. Lookup functions find a value in a table and return a corresponding value from the table to the cell containing the function. So for example, if I wanted to look up somebody by customer ID and find the technician's name, I would be able to use a lookup table. Now we want to use the HLOOKUP function when we want a field that is horizontal or across our lookup, and we want to use the VLOOKUP when the direction is vertical or down the worksheet. They say the VLOOKUP function is used more often because most tables are vertical, like in this table. What we're going to look at here is the rating column. We're giving each technician a value of gold, silver, or bronze for their service call. A technician with a score of 8 or more is going to receive a silver, 7 or more bronze, and 9 or more gold. So we're going to use this VLOOKUP function to figure this out. The VLOOKUP function takes 3 arguments: the value we're wanting to look for, the table we want to look for it in, and the column that we want to look for it in. Let's see if we can get this one set up properly. Now before we can use the VLOOKUP function, we need to create a table array. And we'll see what that is. The following steps create a table array in the range L1 up here through M7. So let's go over to column M and let's change its width 16.5. And now that we've got our column set, let's click in column L1. And in L1, we want to type rating table. Let's apply the title style and bold formatting. Do this. Now let's select our range L1 through M1. And we want to go to our format cells. And we're going to use the alignment tab. And we want to change our horizontal to center across selection. Now in L2, let's type survey. And in M2, we want rating. Now we're going to start building this table. So let's click in I8 in our heading. And let's use the format painter to make our headings. Oops, I got too many, didn't I? I really only need these two. Format painter. Apply. Okay. Now let's enter some data here. We're having to put in what our ratings are. So we want this data. So 0. 0 is going to be star generate report. 7 bronze. 8 silver. And 9 gold. So this is just a little definition array for us to say that we want to define how our ratings are set up. We only have to enter the smallest value for each argument, and Excel will automatically evaluate the range. So for bronze, we don't have to put beginning at 7 and ending at 8. So we'll figure that out. Now we're going to actually implement our VLOOKUP function, and we want to change our spreadsheet to where it's displaying these ratings. So let's go to cell G9. And get our ratings set up. Now in cell G9, we want to use the VLOOKUP function. So we're going to put equal VLOOKUP. Now the arguments that we're going to pass to our VLOOKUP are going to be, first of all, the cell to look up, which is the cell we're in, F9, then a comma, then the Excel highlight, our lookup range. So our lookup range is going to be our table over here, our rating table. So that's going to be an absolute location, $I, $3, through $M, $6. Now I'm going to look over here and see if that is right. It looks like I should have typed an L there instead of the I, huh? It can be kind of hard to see the difference. And then if I do that, I see that my rating table is properly selected as this lookup range. Now, next, the last argument I need is which column in the lookup table should be displayed. And we want or returned for view. we want the rating, the verbiage to be displayed. So we'll choose column 2. Column 1 would be our survey number. So let's press enter on that formula and look at that. Everything is just perfect. Now we wanted to use those absolute cell references so that Excel won't adjust that array location when it creates the calculated column. We could get some unexpected results if Excel changed that, right? So looks perfect. We're all good. So I think that we're in a really good shape there. Let's see how to add calculated fields to our data table. A calculated field is a field that contains a formula or a function or a cell reference, a structured reference, or a condition. When you create a calculated field, Excel automatically fills in the column without the use of a fill or copy, just like it did with that rating field. So our table is going to have some calculated fields. Let's see, we just created that first one, right? Now we want a new one for our post service rating. That was column G. We've got that. We did our VLOOKUP. And now we're going to add a calculation for column H, dividing the build time by 6.5 hours. And then we're going to figure out the customer bill to know how much they were charged. So let's create these calculated fields. Whenever we're working with our calculations, we've seen how the dollar signs give us an absolute reference. For these, we're going to use a structured reference. Whenever we're using a structured reference, we're looking at a combination of the table name, the column heading, or any named or special rows instead of the column letter and row number. Named rows use a pound sign or a hashtag before the row name, like hashtag totals. If the column heading contains any spaces between words, its name must be enclosed in brackets, the square brackets. Now we want to use these structured references because they get automatically updated if our table gets changed. So let's start out with cell H9. And we know that, right there, we know that this is going to be a calculation based on the technician's time. So let's click the percent style button. I go to my home tab, click percent, and increase the decimal twice so that data is formatted with 2 decimal places. 1, 2. I think that works. Sometimes I can't tell when my mouse is off the screen. Now let's type equal open square bracket, and that will make Excel display a list of all of the columns in our table for us. So we can use that list to find the right field. Let's double click the time build to select that field. And then close our square bracket. Now we want to divide that by 6.5 to know how much percent of their day. Now when we press enter, we should see our calculation. Now we're dividing by 6.5 because that's a 6.5 hour workday. So we give the technician a little time to travel. I don't know about eating or anything. Let's eat in their car. That's okay. We're used to that, right? All right, now let's do our customer bill. Click in your I9 cell and click the accounting number format, comma style, cent style, accounting. Now we are going to use an if statement with this one. So let's start out equal if. This is going to be a conditional format. So I'm going to start with an open parenthesis, and I want to check to see if cell D9 equals the word warranty. If so, I'm going to enter 0, because if it's a warranty repair, we don't get any money. But if it's not, I'm going to calculate how much was billed. So I'm going to do my open square bracket, find my time billed column, close my square bracket, and then multiply that time billed by 75. Perfect. Now we can see that anytime we had warranty work to do, we don't get any money for that time for our technician, because that was something we had to take care of. Next, let's look at our conditional formatting. We did that in our last chapter, if you remember, but we're going to change this up a little bit and use an icon set. So instead of just changing the color of our background like we did in our last, we're going to change things to use some sort of icon, and that's really helpful for people. We all see that a lot. So let's start out. They want us to select F9 through F22. For satisfaction survey here. And when we select that, we're going to choose conditional formatting. Now we could try some different things. So, you can see what they look like as you try different things. But here's our icon set. So we know we have all of these great things available to us. Let's create our own new rule. Now we want to format all cells based on their values. We'd like to use an icon set for our formatting. We'd like 3 symbols circled as our icon style. Now you can experiment with some different ones and see how they look. But once you're through with that, let's click on 3 symbols circled, and then click the first type button. We wanted to say when value is greater than or equal to 9 as a number. Type that in. Then we want to change the next thing to number also. When it is less than 9 and greater than or equal to 7. So now we know that our green is going to be used when value is greater than or equal to 9. And our yellow is going to be used when it's greater than or equal to 7. And anything else is going to be red. So let's click OK. Here we are. We only got this one red. They were probably just in a bad mood. Beautiful. Everything looks great. I'm going to save there and close out this video. We'll pick it up with working with tables a little further in our next video. Thanks.